Merry meet everybody, Rowan here. I just thought I'd do a little how-to video because I'm currently on the stove. I'll show you that in a second, but I'm currently making a Comfrey and Calendula Ointment / liniment, which, if you know about your herbs, can be used for aches and pains, any pulled muscles, strains, sprains, broken bones. Comfrey is the most amazing bone healer. Calendula is very calming and very soothing. So I'm making a batch of ointment out of my Comfrey and my Calendula. So I've got my Comfrey here, my Calendula there, and it's going to have beeswax in it, which you saw in the last haul. No, you didn't. Haul. I'm sorry, I can't talk today. And it's got the extra virgin olive oil. If I take you over to my stove, short walk, in there, don't know if you can see in here, we've got the Calendula and Comfrey in a double boiler, which is basically a Pyrex glass bowl. And I'll go through the recipe for you in a minute. It suddenly dawned on me after I'd already started that I hadn't started doing the video that I wanted to do, so we're playing catch up, but I promise you've not missed anything by me doing it late, because it's so simple, but I just wanted to share it anyway. So in this bowl I have half a cup of dried Calendula, I have half a cup of dried Comfrey, and 2.5 cups of extra virgin olive oil. Now this is going to make one batch, which I'm not certain how many jars this batch is going to make, but it should be a reasonable size. So you just put the herbs and the oil in the glass bowl, you put water in the pan underneath, which I'm just about to top up actually. Bear with me. And you don't want it to be boiling, but you want it to have a nice roll to it, so just like a gentle simmer. On my stove I've currently got it on 1, but to start it off I had it on 4 and gradually turned it down. And then you put the bowl with the oil and herbs back on top of there so that the water isn't touching the bowl, and every now and again just come back and stir, because it won't form lumps, but it will kind of clump together a little, and then you just set that there. So that's been on since 5:45, and it's got currently about another hour and a half to go, so in total it'll go for about 3 hours, just gently infusing on the stove, and then I'll come back when we get to the point where we strain and then we melt in the beeswax to make the ointment. So we've come to the point where we've finished infusing our oil, well it is our oil, on the double boiler. So now I can take that carefully off of there and set that down. See that steaming away? You can see the colour of the oil. It's a lovely greeny oil. All that Comfrey and Calendula has broken down beautifully. So now I'm going to let that cool a tad so that I can strain it. Okay, so that's cooled just about enough for me to be able to hold it comfortably with one hand. Obviously I would normally be doing this with 2 hands, but I'm showing you guys how to do it. Don't worry, I am being safe. So now I'm going to pour that all into there. As you can see, that's come through, and that's given me a lovely big yield of oil through there. So I'm just going to press that. And as you can see, I've got a nice big bowl of fully strained Comfrey and Calendula oil, which in a moment I shall be adding the beeswax to make the ointment. So here's the strained oil back on top of the double burner. It's just the oil as it started out its infused life. Excuse the walking, but I'm just coming back to grab my specific herb spoon. Here we go, found it. So that's just the oil in there. Purely oil. Now I've measured it out. I've got some left over. This is 1 cup of the infused oil that I made. It's made 2 cups, but I'm using 1 cup to make the ointments, and I'm leaving 1 cup as the double infused oil so I can then use it for various other different things. Now to this I'm going to add, if I can get the lid off, one, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 drops of rosemary oil. So that was 10 drops of rosemary oil. Now 10 might sound like a lot, but this is getting split between jars and it's all going to mix in very thoroughly. So now into that, so I've got 1 cup of the calendula and comfrey oil. I'm going to add 1 ounce in weight of beeswax. And that's on top of the double burner, and that's just going to gradually melt down. Okay, it does take a while, it's not a quick process. And that's going to melt down into the oil, which will act as our setting agent for the ointment, so that when it's in the jars, it's obviously not going to be all runny. And it depends roughly how much, what consistency rather, you like your ointments and salves even to be. I prefer mine to have quite a robust texture, so 1 ounce to 1 cup works out beautifully. But you can always start off by adding half an ounce, and if it's too runny for you, then add more. I mean, half an ounce does make it more like a thick oil than anything else. 1 ounce works beautifully. You get a nice, smooth, soft, quite a luxurious feeling ointment out of the 1 cup 1 ounce ratio. It works lovely. So that's just beginning to, you can see that's just beginning to shrink down. So while that's doing that, all I've got here is I've got my jars ready to go. Oh, I left a stick of wax behind. There we go. I've got my jars. Focus. There we go. Sitting here ready to go. All the lids are off, ready and prepped. And I've got my jug here ready as well. So that's waiting to have the ointment popped in. You can see now that some of the wax is beginning to group together. As it melts down, it will do that. If it's in this form, I've got it in these little, almost like mini sausage pellets. You can get it in chunks and shave it in, or you can get it in the actual teeny tiny, they look like lentils, pellets of beeswax, depending on your area. Any of it works fine, just some of it will take longer than other. These little tiny sausage pellets will take a little bit longer than the teeny tiny lentil sized pellets, and obviously the big blocks, if you shave it in, that will go super quick because it's just really thin. It shaves up like parmesan cheese. So that's beginning to go, and I can feel that the whole thing's taking on a slightly different texture. It's now feeling quite silky and quite emulsion-like in its texture. If anybody does any house painting and decorating, you'll know what emulsion feels like. If not, it's a very thin lotion feeling with a bit of a slickness to it. Obviously it's not going to set like that. You can see that's breaking down, that's almost gone. From that double boiler, it works out quite nicely. And this won't take long to set once it's given the chance to cool, so I'm going to work quite quickly from the double boiler into the jug and then into the jars, and then once it's in the jars it will set, depending on the temperature of your house or wherever you're doing this, it will set between 15 minutes and an hour. It depends on the temperature. I mean, my flat is currently quite warm at the moment, so it might take longer than, I actually think it'll probably take about half an hour to be set thoroughly. And you can see just in the short time that I have been talking you guys through this process, that that has all blended in. That's all gone, and you can see already on the spoon it wants to start setting, so I'm going to work fairly quickly. Just going to turn my stove off. There we go, safety first, don't forget to turn your stove off, folks. So I'm going to set my spoon down, and I'm going to carefully take that off the double boiler. Set that there. And again, carefully, I'm going to transfer that from the bowl into the jug. Just make sure I've got as much as that as physically possible. Set that down there. And now I'm going to pour that into my jars. Now every batch is different, your measurements might be different to mine. I don't even know if this is going to fill 6 jars. Don't think it will. No, it won't. So that just means I've got some spare for when I make my lip balm. You can see on the outside of the jug that has already started to set. If I get my finger down in there, you can see that already I've got some of that ointment where it started to set, and it feels absolutely heavenly. And the smell is just gorgeous. Can you see that in the bottom of the jug? Can you see that? That's already setting in the bottom of the jug. That's not going anywhere. That's set. So now I'm going to leave that, just move these two out the way. Now I'm just going to leave that in the jars to set. I don't know if you can see this, at the bottom of the jars, down here, can you see the colour is changing from this rich green up here? That's already starting to set. So that's not going to take long, so I'll come back when that's set and you can see the finished product. Okay, so here we have all the calendula and comfrey ointments set solid. That's not going anywhere. You see the colour of that gorgeous, gorgeous colour. So that's how it sets. And texture wise, I'll take this one because I know this one's for me. Texture wise, just to give you an idea, I'm not pressing very hard because your body warmth will soften that up the minute that you touch it. You can see that's not going anywhere. So it's nice and soft, and if I just rub a little onto my hand, sorry, the camera's jogging around because I'm rubbing this into my other hand, you can see that it is quite oily, but give it probably 5 minutes and that will have all soaked in. That will be all absorbed into the skin, and it's so good for any forms of sprains, strains, breaks, twists, pulls, muscle pain, arthritic pain, any joint pain. It's basically a wonder for all of it. So now I'm going to pop the lids onto my jars. That's all cooled completely. You want to make sure that it is cooled completely, not just that it's gone past hot and to room temperature. You want to make sure that it's cooled completely. And I have my labels here, and you want to make sure that when you label anything like this, you put the date that you made it on. So there we've got Comfrey and Calendula, and it's the 18th today. So we'll pop that on there. And one of these is for me. The other 3 are for other people. Other people's goodies. So there we go. There we have the Comfrey and Calendula ointment, liniment. That's all set and beautiful sitting in there. there we are, guys. I hope you enjoyed this. If you've got any questions or any comments, please feel free to comment below. I will put the recipe there as well. And I hope you enjoyed this. Love and light to you all, guys. Blessed be.